The atheists are with the evidence for God. They don't want evidence for God. They run from evidence for God because evidence for God is going to mean that they're morally accountable for their choices.
There's no physical proof that there is a God, except for what you believe in your heart and in your mind.
Well, I would say there probably is some physical evidence, though it's not conclusive.
Okay, fair enough.
But there are evidences and proofs that are non-empirical, right? Any argument that rests upon logic is a non-empirical evidence. So to even assert that you must have empirical evidence for your position presupposes that you're arguing for something that's non-empirical. Laws of logic and laws of reasoning are not empirical. You can't see them physically, test them. You assume them, and they're immaterial things. So proofs for God come in many different ways other than through the empirical sciences.
That's why they call it faith. Having faith that it will,
But the faith is not blind, is what he's saying. It's like Simon Greenleaf. Do you know who Simon Greenleaf was? He was the founder of Harvard Law School.
Okay.
Considered one of the greatest legal minds in Western society.
Okay.
Yeah, when Harvard started it. And he was an atheist, or an agnostic. Really, he was an agnostic, maybe even a deist. But he was challenged by some of his students to put to the test the historical documents of the Bible. And some Christian students challenged him to say, put these four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, to a rigorous legal test to see if these would hold up to a test, to see if these would be character witnesses that would be allowed in the court of law. And so he went on a 2-year study and tested them, and he became a Christian after 2 years of study. He said he said there's more than enough sufficient evidence for an honest, reasonable mind, free of belief, free of prejudice and bias to the contrary.
Yep.
And so I think that's how it is. I think that's what he's explaining. God puts more than enough evidence for the open, honest heart that wants to seek Him. But a heart blinded by prejudice that doesn't want to see God, that doesn't want to believe in God, and that can be for many reasons. Some veiled intellectual concerns. Some are facts that some people have been hurt by the authority figures in their life. And they have anger and rage against authority, and they can't see, they just can't see a loving God as existing because they can't work through their pain. And that's a big reason. I think most atheists are atheists not because of intellectual arguments, but rather because of emotional issues.
But it all goes back to your opinion. It all boils down to, in that respect, is just knowing yourself. Growing up to
partially,
yourself.
but again, that reduces all morality and truth to just a subjective. I make it up for myself, which I reject. I think there is a God, and I believe there's, like I said, evidence for Him, and I believe that we are all under God's authority. And so I would tell them, not just my opinion, hey, you should grow up, but I would say that, look, God created you for a purpose more than just to sit around, waste your life and play video games. Jesus told a parable, it was a very powerful parable. It affected me when I was 19 years old and became a Christian. I had terrible work ethic, fired from all the jobs I'd had, blamed everybody else for it. In this parable, it's called the parable of the talents, which that's the form of currency they had. It was a form of money. It basically said that a king, a ruler was leaving, and he had 3 servants, and he gave one 5 of these talents. He gave another one 2. He gave another one 1. And so the one that had 5 multiplied it. He got 5 more, one of 10. The one that had the 2 multiplied it, got 2 more, and had 4. But the one that he only gave 1 to, that one went and hit it in the ground and came back with just the 1. And so Jesus tells the story that the ruler came back and said, you have done well getting 10, doubling what I gave you. You have done well getting 4, doubling what I gave you. You've multiplied what I gave you. You've done something with it. You that have only done 1, you hid your talent, you buried what I gave you. You did not utilize it. He said that wicked and lazy servant was cast out of the kingdom. And so it's like God puts us on this earth for a purpose. We're here to develop into something. We're here to be conformed. The Bible says to be conformed into the image of Jesus Christ. We're to become like God in our purity, in our moral excellence, in our holiness, in our godliness. We're to grow and mature and to become like Him in many ways. And so it's kind of like when we say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, I just sit and play video games all day. Well, that's the problem. It's like showing up to class all day and you get an F. And you say, well, why did I get an F, teacher? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Why am I getting an F? Well, it's because you didn't do anything, you got an F. You go to class, you're required to do something, to learn, to grow, to expand and increase in knowledge. And so God puts us on this planet to do something. We live in a generation that is so strongly fighting that, trying to push that off, you know. We don't want to grow up. We don't want the responsibility that God has placed upon us as free, moral